Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me. You are now tuned into the podcast of Journey of a Healed Success Stepper. This is the Emotional Healing Solutions Program, step number 4. When we talk about the number 4, we're looking at focusing on the square, your square, focusing on your life, focusing on what happens through the example of a healed success stepper. In my case, my name is Dr. Dorina Shine. I am an ex-convicted felon, and I share my journey of the criminal justice system, how I survived the emotional attacks of the enemy's playbook as a healed success stepper. So when we talk about step number 4, as I was gathering my documentation to speak on today's podcast, I wanted to share with you, let the 10 man be the 10 man. If the 10 man does not have a heart, you are not a doctor to do a heart transplant. I'm not a doctor that will perform heart surgery. I am a leader. I am an influencer. I am a social media, researcher who focuses on my case as a case study. The state of Ohio versus Dorina Shine, 2011. In this case, I go back and I think about the involuntary intoxication and how that intoxication created a storyline that I am sharing with you today. Some people may feel that is not holding accountability. But let me share with you a little bit about the case. So at the time of making a decision whether I would take it to trial or plead guilty, I was trying to figure out the facts of what happened in this involuntary intoxication. So I'm in county jail and the toxicology report comes back and I'm getting a clear head in certain things, and my attorney is talking to me about certain things, and all of a sudden, he's like, have you ever ingested LSD? No. Have you ever ingested PCP? No. Have you ever ingested heroin? No. Have you ever ingested marijuana? Yes. Have you ever ingested alcohol? Yes. Have you ever ingested cocaine? No. Toxicology report comes back with all of this, and all I did was take a sip of or a half of a drink of a margarita. Now, voluntarily, if a margarita would do something like that, it's the same thing as saying that a muffin would do all of that. You put the ingredients in there. You mix the ingredients in there. So if I did not know that the mixture of these ingredients were in that drink and I ingested it as just a margarita, as just a, margarita with some grape juice in it or grapefruit juice in it, and puff a couple puffs of a rolled joint, then that's what I'm accountable for. The marijuana and the margarita drink. I am not responsible for the inducement of the things that were put into the drink. So as I'm looking back hindsight, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. I think that I'm having an emotional breakdown. I'm not thinking even at that point that this is my toxicology report, because I know that I didn't ingest this type of thing, right? But as I go back and I start revamping the story, the day, the situation, the circumstance, with a clear mind, I'm like, wow, I was really ingested with that stuff. But see, my grandmother always said, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. So even though grief was a part of the situation, I'm going to get to emotional healing step number 4 in this example. I needed to make another plan. But how could I make another plan when my ability to think for myself was stolen? So in my mind, hearing things, seeing things that's not there, having to fight back on something that I did not even know existed, except for in my mind, because I have never messed with anything like this. I'm willing to take it all the way to trial. I am willing to take the 4 counts of felonious assault, 8 years each, to trial, because I need to get resonation. I need to be resonated by what a jury of my peers says happened. I'm expecting audio, visual, camera footage. I'm expecting all of this, and it's not there. So I say to myself, to anyone who is in this type of situation, you have no idea what to expect. So this is how emotional healing solutions number 4 came to be. I was stuck in a position where I had to make a decision that could literally land me 32 years in prison, in the institution. So my theory was, figure out what happened, take it to trial. It's not that I was trying to be, hard or regurgitating through the system or anything like that, using the system. I was holding myself accountable. And for anyone who would not consider that I held myself accountable during this particular point in my life, you don't have a conscious awareness of normalcy in America. Because there is no way you cannot consider that being the most accountable. I was willing to give my entire life in the free system of America to an institution because I wanted to know what happened. And if I did this and if I did such horrific things, I don't deserve anything but the time that I deserve. So when I went to trial, as I'm picking out my jury selection, there's this one man, and he stood out to me out of all the 12 and the alternates. He said, Your Honor, I would not be good in this case because I don't believe in your system. I think your system is very one-sided. I think your system is racist. I think your system is induced by financial fiduciary funds. And I believe you employ the worst of the worst. You employ the basic individuals to fulfill your mission. And when I heard that, I said, whoa, I want him. I told my judge or my attorney, I said, I want him. My attorney said the judge is not going to allow it. Wow. Because he's biased or because he's truthful? So let's get right into emotional healing step number 4, and then I'll come back with a little bit more of the story if you're interested. Here we go. Okay, let me see here. I know a lot of it won't be able to be shown because I write very big and the camera can only accept what it can. Okay, I think that'll be good enough. I think that's good enough. So emotional healing solutions help me see at that given moment, I had to make a decision of what is going to be the basic strategy that I needed to implement over my life, because this was a very devastating time for me. This was a very crucial time. Do I take the 6 months or I don't think I take the 6 months, because if I take the 6 months, then I'm not going to be held accountable for the behaviors in which I supposedly, allegedly performed. So divine legacy tells me, learn it from the heart. If this is how and I had people, telling me, hey, take the 6 months. You get out, you keep your life going, and you keep it moving. But my theory was if I took the 6 months, that means I pled guilty to what happened. So that means that the involuntary intoxication was purposeful. That means that the aggravated situations that happened after that scenario was all 100% my fault. And I could not do that because I could not sit right with myself. Call me self-righteous, call me arrogant, call me egoic. I don't give a damn, especially if you didn't do the time with me. So I came up with this step. Speak life over how I plan to solve the emotional situation. See, no one else could tell me how to handle my scenario unless they had walked in my shoes. And even then, it was different outside external forces that were different from my case than theirs. So I said, okay, with divine legacy, what should I do? Heal myself. So I told him I'm taking it to trial. Listen, when the Tin Man does not have a heart, don't try to do the transplant. He does not need a heart transplant. He doesn't feel. He doesn't heal. He doesn't inspire. And that's where I was at as a low vibrational being who was stated that I was facing 4 counts of felonious assault at 8 years each. I'm looking at myself as a horrible person. And I'm like, but I'm not this way on a regular everyday basis. I have never been this way before, and I'm not this way now. And this one isolated incident, because of an inducement from my neighbor who most people trust, neighbors we trust, you know what I mean? People, when you first move into a neighborhood, the first thing that happens is your neighbors come over with, things that they feel housewarming gifts should involve. That could be food. They can be bakers. They can be chefs. They can be anybody. Same thing at funerals. When you go to a funeral, everyone, bakes cakes and bakes cookies and all that. You're not assuming that somebody's going to put something in that to flip someone out at the funeral or, So I had to figure out and think higher vibrational than the low frequency, basic way of looking at this situation. So as I'm going through and I'm serving my time, being accountable, being responsible, because that's one thing I don't run from, responsibility. I've been a single parent majority of my adult life, and I've never run from, whatever life threw my way. I don't care how embarrassing. I don't care how sinister. I don't run. So with that being said, I was sentenced to 48 months in the Marysville Correctional Institution in 2016. So I take off to do my time. I'm expecting it to be a 4-year bid. I'm expecting to, get in there and use my time wisely. I'm expected to learn more about who I am. I'm not expecting, the narrative of something negative to happen because I spoke life over how I plan to solve the emotional situation at hand. So then what happens is I go in there and I begin to create and work with the wardens and the supervisors on the first associate's degree program for the women in the institution of Marysville Correctional Institution in 2016 through Ashland University. I was their first tutor in the privatized associate's degree program. So I used my same skills that I would have used outside of the institution in the institution. Not only that, I was a chef in Marysville. I was a GED specialist in Marysville. I was also a person who ran Emotional Healing Solutions program every Monday at 7 o'clock, to those who wanted to really help themselves and tell their stories and get everything out so that they can grow beyond what the basic part of life told them that they could do. During all of that, I'm expecting 48 months. Come to find out, I get 18 months. And then it's time to go. I'm done. So in that 18-month sentence, I did more than I ever thought I could do in an institution. Because I went in, because I spoke life over my life. I spoke life over my success. I spoke life over my case, because I knew that I did not voluntarily ingest that. Yeah, I voluntarily ingested marijuana. I voluntarily ingested margarita, alcohol. Yes, to this day, I am recovered. Seriously, no return to that life. I don't even imagine it. Okay? So with that being said, because that was the circumstance, I was okay with the 48 months, because yeah, I can't just not do something. I did create a mess in that restaurant, but unbeknownst to me, I'm thinking it's psychological. I'm thinking I really spazzed out because I'm mentally incapable, incompetent, unaware, unconscious. And it wasn't that. No, it was not that. So for those of you who want to judge where I should have been, what I should have done, then you put yourself in my shoes at that particular moment. What would you have done? What would you have done? Not knowing that you were induced, not knowing that you took something that was legal, such as alcohol, and maybe illegal, but not to the degree where marijuana ain't gonna make you go and want to kill somebody. It ain't gonna make you want to do that. It's that other injustice stuff. That's why marijuana is legal today. And if it was that bad back then, it wouldn't be legal now. Or maybe it would. Maybe it's our own decisions. But when the Tin Man doesn't have a heart, he will never understand your journey, because he's always going to look at you as somebody he can judge. But he's not looking at what's going on in his own heart. He's not looking at the dark, deep crevices of the things that he just did before he judged you. He's not looking at the sinister ways that he looks at women because he really wanted to be a woman. He's not looking at, or she's not looking at, the relationship between what is just and right, because she never knew how to be a woman. She only knew how to be somebody in the street. So she could never, no matter how much she faked it, no matter how much she gaslit, no matter how much she portrayed to be, she could never be. She could never be the success that many who have been accountable and responsible to the behaviors and walk the walk, talk the talk, 10 toes down, and wasn't afraid of anything. So let the Tin Man be without a heart. He doesn't need a heart. Because if you give him a heart, he's been so ingested with so much, he may not understand how to ingest that heartfelt feeling if he doesn't want it. But if he wants a heart, give him a heart. Give him the heart transplant. But my theory is this: I'm not going to allow someone to speak life over my success that I've already healed from. And I, as a success stepper, that's what I want you to understand. The enemy's playbook is this: the quarterback knew the play of the opposition because he studied. And in studying the play of the opposition, he knew how to play his run. But he wanted to make you think that you owed him something. when he cheated. He cheated, making you think that he was helping you. And in the meantime, you took the blunt. Took the brunt of all of the demonic things that was set up for him. Because he lied. He played the game. Well, quarterback, it's your time to shine. It's your time. And with that being said, I mean, I hope you're capable, and consistently ready for the game of life. Because the way that the true success stepper is going to win is to keep showing up like this. To keep showing up successful. To keep showing up without being hidden in plain sight. To tell all your game plays. To let people know how the enemy transpires and plays the game. Even with the cult. People turning on each other. Because that 10 men ain't got no heart. And it could be involving your brothers, your sisters, your family, your grandkids, your cousins, your everybody. And it still don't matter. It could be involving your mom, your dad, I mean, this world is showing us exactly what people think, how they feel. But one thing that I want you to do and dare you to do, success steppers, speak life over your emotional situation and heal from that, and then find a solution. Don't allow a person with no understanding of who you are, where you've been, how you've maneuvered to dictate your success now that you've healed. Because if you do, you only got yourself to blame. And for those who judge you, don't take it personal. Look at that as a projection upon who they think about, what they think about themselves. And when you see that that is it, you'll see that everything you did, God has discerned to me. Taking it to trial for me, in my case, was the best thing I could have done. Because I could hear it now. I could hear my haters. And believe me, I got a hit list of 1 million. But it's all right. I can hear them now. Well, you admitted to it. So how you going to say now that it was involuntary? That wasn't my story. My story was, I'm going to take it to trial. If it's 32 years, then that's what it be. That's it. If you feel comfortable with giving me 32 years from what I don't recall doing, because, you know, somebody in your society, the same state that judged me, somebody who resided in that very state, judged me by inducing my drink, then so be it. Now, if that ain't responsibility, I don't know what is. I've never run from anything. Not from the parenting that had me in court every other week for something that was done based on, you know, runaway reports, based upon police reports, and I'm fighting the system to the system every day or every week. If that didn't make me crazy, then you telling me that I'm insane at this point don't matter, because I've succeeded. I've healed. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. And serve my time. Because if the state of Ohio felt that a 32-year bid could be turned to 48 months, that's like going from freshman in high school to senior. Okay? 12, 24, 36, 48. 4 12-month periods. When it should have been 32, and I only served 18 months. That's less than almost half of the one count. That's not even 4 years. And if they sentence me to 4 years, right? They sentenced me to 4. What happened to the other 3 counts and a half? If I did that much horrific incidents in the state of Ohio, they wouldn't let me get away with that. Because they knew, they understood what involuntary intoxication is. But they had to give something. And that 6 months on a plea, 18 months was far greater. 48 months was far greater. And to find out what I know today about who I am and about what really took place, I now have the Innocence Project supporting me and what I went through. Because again, that injustice of involuntary intoxication is that part. It's not that I went out there and acted a fool under the influence. No, I'm sure everyone does do that. That's why it's called under the influence. If I wasn't under the influence, I could see. Because in my mind, I didn't know I was under that type of influence. So if I know that I can drink a shot or 2 and just be mellow, and if I know that I can drink a wine cooler and just be mellow, why would that same wine cooler create that type of devastation in my life? At a time when I'm walking the path of success. That's what I want you to ask yourself about this criminal case, State of Ohio versus Dorina Shine, 2011. But emotional healing, success, step number 4, it helped me see how to come out into this society and continue on the journey of a healing, awakened being. And that was in 2011. So anyone who may assume that I am not accountable for my behavior, I blame someone else, I blame the system. No, absolutely not. You got it all twisted. I'm not blaming anybody. That's the reason why I went in it 10 toes down, straight ahead. I don't run. I'm not a track star. And I definitely ain't running from no 10 man without a heart. So I want you to think about that. When you success step in your journey and you think that you want to judge something, judge lest ye be judged. Because my theory is this: I never cared about what happened in somebody's life. I may have heard about it and said, ooh, that's bad. Or, oh man, that person did that. Oh, what happened? I may have gotten just the gist of it, but I don't get deep because I'm too busy working on my own self gratification. If it don't deal with me, and if it's not going to create an opportunity of success for me, I'm not interested. It's boring. It's boring. So with that, I want you to take that into consideration as a success stepper play. The enemy knows how to attack. They're going to attack during grief. They're going to attack during, areas where you're most depressed. When you start picking up that extra drink, when you keep numbing yourself, that's when the enemy is watching every step you make, every move you take, to find out where they can come in and sabotage your life and keep you basic. Don't forget, you have 50% of people at the basic level, and then you have 25% as bullies, and then another 25% as narcissists who control all the narrative, preventing people from finding out who they are. Now, any of these 100% of people on low vibrational levels can rise to the occasion anytime they choose. But the question is, if you do not choose to rise to that occasion for yourself, do you have the right to stop somebody else from rising to that occasion if they choose to? Stay in your lane. Be happy with your basic life. Okay? Be happy with the way you see what you desire for you. Live the white picket dream fence with the dog and the wife and the husband. But some people realize that the American is something bigger than the American dream. Don't hate on them because they decided to do something different. Something that makes them feel good. But that's what that Tin Man does. He don't have a heart, so he don't feel. He feels like he's God. He feels like he's one black God. And he feels that he can ego kill anything but himself. He can be the ego killer for everybody else out here but himself. So now we got to say our divine legacy now resides within us today. We can call emotional security anytime we feel. And the Innocence Project, thank you for taking consideration and looking at this situation. Because there is so much more to this. And there are so many more people who are suffering because of situations that made them basic all over again when they had real good lives, good ideas, promoting people and themselves, trying to make life better. And then that narcissist and that bully prevented it. Because they'd rather you stay basic so they can feel good. Because don't forget, they don't have a heart. They're the Tin Man. Keep rising to the top. And we'll see you next time.